What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about on a daily basis, including money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, and stimulus check update. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. Remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, thanks for hitting the like button for us down below. More than two-thirds of Americans in a new poll say that the economy is bad, even though unemployment is at or near a 50-year low, because inflation is at or near a 40-year high. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword right now. It's a tale of two stories. And President Biden's approval rating is at the lowest it has ever been, matching former President Donald Trump's lowest approval rating as well at 39%. Yeah. Yeah, you could see here President Joe Biden's approval rating dipped to the lowest point of his presidency in May, a new poll shows, with deepening pessimism emerging among even his own party members, the Democratic Party. Only 39% of U.S. adults approve of Biden's performance as president, according to a new Associated Press poll. Overall, only about 2 in 10 adults say the U.S. economy or the U.S. is heading in the right direction or that the economy is good, both down from about 3 in 10 a month earlier. Those drops were concentrated among Democrats, with just 33% within the president's own party saying the country is headed in the right direction, down from almost half, 49%, in April. Of particular concern for Biden ahead of midterm elections, his approval rating among Democrats stands at 73%. Interesting. A substantial drop since earlier in his presidency. But Biden's approval rating among Democrats has never dropped below 82%. So that would be a 9 percentage point drop since then. And get this, here's what some people had to say, quote, "I don't know how much worse it can get," said Milan Ramsey, a 29-year-old high school counselor and Democrat in Santa Monica, California, who with her husband had to move into her parents' house to raise their infant son. And remember, the child tax credits are no longer going out. Largely, a lot of people blame Senator Joe Manchin for that. Ramsey thinks the economic dysfunction that's led to her being unable to afford the place where she grew up isn't Biden's fault, but she's alarmed he hasn't implemented ambitious plans for fighting climate change or fixing healthcare. That neither of those would really, well, maybe healthcare, but climate change isn't going to help her afford the place, right? But get this, quote, "He hasn't delivered on any of the promises. I feel like the stimulus checks came out, and that was the last win of his administration." A lot of people kind of feel that way, right? I think he's tired, and I don't blame him. I'd be tired too at his age with the career he's had. And the question here is, how much of this is like Senator Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema's fault? Remember that last package passed, the Build Back Better package passed the House of Representatives, had the child tax credit checks in there, had new benefits for seniors in there, had paid family medical leave in there, and we have all these new checks going out, stimulus checks, tax relief checks, whatever you want to call them, coming from the states right now, which is money that came from the last stimulus package. So those are actually going out now. It's kind of a new wave of stimulus checks right now, because remember that provided about $350 billion from the last stimulus package. A lot of that money is going out now from the states. Of course, each state's doing it a little bit differently. I'm trying to keep you up to date on those. But the gridlock with Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema and the Republicans are voting no on a lot of different things. There's not a lot of bipartisanship. Let me know your thoughts on that. Do you blame Biden? Do you blame Congress? Do you blame people like Joe Manchin? Who do you blame? Meanwhile, here's what the White House has to say. Here's White House economic advisor Brian Deese. Here's what he has to say.
To discuss all of this is the president's top economic advisor, the director of the National Economic Council, Brian Deese. Thank you so much for coming in this morning. Let's start with the S&P 500 dipping into bear market territory on Friday. It did rebound slightly. The Dow just experienced its longest losing streak in nearly a century. So yes or no, is the U.S. falling into a recession?
Well, there are always risks, but here's where I think we are. Our economy is in a transition from what has been the strongest recovery in modern American history to what can be a period of more stable and resilient growth that works better for families. There's no doubt we face serious global challenges right now, inflation first and foremost among them, and it's hitting families hard. But there's also no doubt that the United States is in a better position than any other major country around the world to address inflation without giving up all the economic gains that we've had. And that's because of the strength of our recovery. We have the strongest job market. We have businesses investing. We have Americans actually increasing their savings and paying down their debt.
So given all of that, are you confident that the U.S. can avoid a recession?
In this transition, the United States is in a better place than any other country because of those strengths. If you think about where we have come from, we have navigated through Delta and Omicron. We've navigated through the gyrations coming from Putin's war in Ukraine. And still, the American consumer, the American business has been resilient through this period. And so if we keep our focus on bringing inflation down in a way that actually helps families.
But you're not saying no.
Look, there are always risks, but we feel very good about where the United States is, particularly when you look on the global landscape.
Okay, let's talk about inflation. It is still near the highest levels in 4 decades. I want to play what President Biden said about this issue almost a year ago compared to what he's saying now.
By the way, talk of inflation. The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down. I want every American to know that I'm taking inflation very seriously, and it's my top domestic priority.
Brian, how did the administration get that so wrong?
Look, a lot of things have changed over the course of the last year, and we've dealt with a lot of unexpected challenges. As I mentioned, the Delta wave of COVID, Omicron on top of that, and more recently, Putin's invasion of Ukraine, which has sent gyrations through global energy markets. What's most important for the American people to understand right now is they have a president who is making clear, as you just played, that inflation is his top economic priority. And that means a couple of things. First, we need to give the Fed the space and the independence to do its job, which is to get inflation under control. Second, we need to lower costs for families, make things more affordable for them during this economic transition. And third, we need to reduce the federal deficit. If we reduce the federal deficit, it will help to reduce price pressures in the economy. We've made a lot of progress on that because of the president's policies, but we can do more.
Well, let me ask you about 2 specific things that would get to the second point you made about lowering cost for consumers. Number one, the federal gas tax. Would you implement a federal gas tax holiday, yes or no?
Well, we're looking at every option. That's something that Congress would need to take up. When it comes
well, the president would have to, or not would have to, but if the administration wants it, he could announce that that's something he wants.
Look, we're working with congressional leaders on a range of different options, and the president is open to anything that could constructively move to help bring some relief at the pump. He has already taken historic action, to be clear. We're releasing 1 million barrels a day from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Countries around the world are doing the same because the president has led. That has helped to blunt the impact of oil prices.
So the gas tax holiday is very much on the table.
Look, we're looking at any option that could constructively move us forward.
Let me ask you about another option, rolling back Trump's tariffs on China.
Well, that's another thing that we're actively looking at, but that goes to a broader question of how we can make trade internationally work for American families and American consumers. The president's in Asia right now, as you mentioned, and tomorrow we'll be launching something called the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. This is designed to actually focus on those economic issues that would matter most for American families. Let me give you a really concrete example. Supply chains. This framework will help us build more resilient early warnings for supply chains. One of the reasons why prices have gone up so much is we've seen these supply chain disruptions that then mean that Americans have to pay more at the store or online. We can solve those types of issues. That's what the president will be talking about tomorrow.
Let's talk about baby formula, speaking of supply chain. 45% of baby formula products nationwide were out of stock at some point last week. At least 4 babies in South Carolina have been hospitalized because of complications due to this shortage. So when will baby formula be available to Americans in the way that they need?
Well, because of the actions that we're taking right now, we're going to see more formula coming off factory lines and more formula in stores starting as early as this week.
And when will we get to normalcy?
Well, as you mentioned, there is a flight that left last night from Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany full of formula that will land in Indiana this morning, a specialty medical grade formula, the type that we most need in this market. Just in that plane flight alone, that will cover about 15% of the overall national volume that we need for that. More flights in train that will be coming in early this week, and we're going to keep ramping that up until we get there. It's going to take a little bit of time for the Abbott, the manufacturer, to bring its facility back online.
What is that time, ballpark?
Well, the CEO this morning in the Washington Post said that they would have that operation back running in about a month. But we're not going to wait that long. As I said, these planes that are landing right now are going to provide some incremental relief in the coming days. We're going to keep working on it over the course of weeks.
I just have to ask, people watching this are probably wondering, as we all are, how do we get to the point where the United States of America has to airlift baby formula from another country in order to feed its children?
Look, it's a reasonable question, and it's frustrating. I'm a parent, and we look and we say, nothing could be more important than the health and the safety of our babies. We have to take safety very seriously. And part of what happened here was that we had a manufacturer that wasn't following the rules and that was making formula that had the risk of making babies sick. So we have to take action on that front. But there's a bigger root to your question, which is how did we end up in a market where we have 3 companies that control 90% of the market? It goes back to this question of how we can bring more competition in our economy, have more providers of this formula so that no individual company has this much control over supply chains. And we're going to have to work on that. There's some big questions underneath that we're going to have to get under.
Brian Deese, the director of the National Economic Council, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so let me know your thoughts here in the comments. And, poll numbers for the president not doing well at all, at his lowest yet, has continued to grapple down. When you look historically here, you can see here on the screen how popular is Joe Biden, or how unpopular is this case. How popular, how unpopular. I'll show you Trump here in a second to compare how his final ratings were. So this is Biden. 54% disapprove, 41% approve. Okay. We just had another polling here that had Biden as low as only 39% approve. So it depends on the poll, but according to this poll, 538, which is one of the major pollers here, and they also take consensus of multiple different polls here. Joe Biden at 41% approval rating. Another poll has him as low as 39%. Okay. When you compare Donald Trump, he's in the same general area, in the same type of area. Okay. His final numbers ended at 38.6% approval rating with let's see if I can zoom this in here a little bit, 57.9% disapproving. Okay. So really, it just kind of shows you that whether it's a Republican president or a Democrat president, people aren't happy with the president either way. So, yeah. And for comparison purposes, the president before that, President Barack Obama, his average approval rating over 8 years of being president was 48%. Okay. His low point approval rating, his lowest he ever hit, was 38%. His highest was 69%. Okay. So his average was 48%. So just to give you an idea, between 3 different presidents, Republican, Democrat, and kind of give you a kind of an average there, right? But really, you always get the other party. If you're a Democratic president, you always get a very unfavorable from the other party. If you're a Republican president, you always get a very unfavorable approval rating from the other party pretty much all the time. So you always kind of have that working against you, no matter what year it is, no matter what year it is. But both Biden and Trump, both hovering around that 40% approval rating, and yeah, for pretty much their whole presidency. So yeah, I don't know. Is it pessimism? Is it just our country has not been that running that great for a while? I mean, we have been in the pandemic here since 2020, so you do have to kind of contend with that as well. We go back to Obama, who was president for 8 years, and his average approval rating was 48%. So almost 50, almost 50. And if you look at the kind of our country is almost 50-50, pretty much Democrat, Republican. It's kind of makes sense. So, that's a president that served 2 full terms. So, yeah. Where we go forward from here, well, we need to bring inflation down is pretty much the first thing. And, the Fed's raising interest rates, and that's not going to be it's not going to be a very it's going to be painful for a lot of people. And hopefully, um, we'll continue to see a lot more state stimulus checks, maybe a federal stimulus check here. I'll keep you up to date here with everything you guys need to know about here on a daily basis. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't yet. Down below, just click the subscribe button. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I just did some really good videos here. I will link you to next. You can click here to watch my newest stimulus check video here next. Really good one there. And also my new Social Security update video. Really good video there on Social Security benefits that could be raised here in the future. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.